is going on, everybody? Cam K back with you for the Power Hour. Once again here on GeForce TV. We're coming off another race weekend. It is the third official race weekend for the Pinty Series in 2023. We're going to break it all down for you here. We've got our good buddy Regan McCauley coming up on the show. He's going to do a race breakdown. I wasn't able to catch the race live, so we are going to do a bit of a breakdown together to go over probably the same points that we both have from the race itself. But Marc-Antoine Camirand and the Paillet Racing team, I called the shot there, said they were going to be the ones to win. He was so good last year, and Andrew Ranger was able to win. We'll talk about Andrew Ranger. We'll talk about Wallace Stacy and JP Bergeron getting together. We'll talk about some of the great stories that we've seen with Larry Jackson, Malcolm Strawn having great runs, some difficulties for some other names out at the track. But if you didn't catch it, it was a typical Chaudier race. There was lots of contact, great enthusiasm from the fans and from the crowd. Nothing that we could really say about Chaudier other than you need to go and see a race there. I need to go and see a race there. The opportunity was presented, but the plan is for next year to see Chaudier live in person. I'm really excited about potentially what we could see there. We got some throwback looking cars this week. We had so basically a bit of a surprise in what we've seen. The Pinty Series continuously does put on a crazy event out at Chaudier, and we've been and again, knock on wood here, but the weather has been fantastic for all of our races so far. We've been able to go green and not really have issues. CTMP on the Saturday was still not very fun, but Sunday was perfect, and really we've been lucky so far. 3 out of the 14 races so far done. Let's get you some interesting notes about the race. Let's talk about these results here. And I can't really say that I'm really shocked here because Marc-Antoine Camirand was really the best car out on the racetrack all of last season. But Trayton Lapsovich once again is showing that 20 car, the partnership with his dad, the 22 racing team, FBM, Delta Bingo and Gaming, they have got something this year. And if we can keep the clean finishes and keep the rivalry to just on track and no off track issues, I think we're in for a really great championship season this year. I mean, it's already started. We've already seen such great stuff that has happened so far, and definitely excited to see what happens with EHR, because once again, EHR putting on a heck of a race. Dexter Stacy, that will be a storyline to follow. He is suffering with a fracture in his elbow. That fracture had occurred a while ago. It is unfortunately progressive gotten a little bit worse. So Chaudier, he was able to start, was running really well, and did have to make a driver change. Because he did do the driver change after, I believe, or at halfway, he does get the points from that race. So Rafael Assard got a podium in the number 92 Recap Chevrolet in front of the fans at Chaudier. Great deal for Dexter Stacy and the Recap Chevrolet to get some good airtime for Recap. And Kevin Lacroix, once again, solid. Made some contact with a couple of guys on the track. That happens at Chaudier. LP Dumoulin. DJ Kennington rebounded. Not a great practice session for him. And one of the names, obviously, we're really kind of concerned about is the WMI cars. They, along with Donald Teague, all had mechanical issues, fire-related, rear-end issues. And there was some context. Apparently, there was specific material that they had used for their cars that all seemed to cause this issue. I believe it was mentioned on social media, the exact situation that led to all of these failures. So it is probably a known problem as to what happened. But man, what frustrating luck for the WMI team once again, and just not really what they needed. We've seen some fantastic stuff really all season long here, but I've got to give a call, obviously, to Larry Jackson because he's one of my favorites, and top 10s aren't always something that he gets very easily. And ninth place, and what we've seen so far, he's got 2 top 10s in 3 races, and his teammate Matthew Scannell was running in the top 5 before he got spun at CTMP. So the Larry Jackson Racing team is also not a fluke. They've been doing a fantastic job this year with what they've got. The O'Neill Electric, Wonder Bread, E3 spark plugs, eBay Motors machine. But the name of the game was Paillet, and Paillet was on 4 cars at Chaudier. JC Paillet, no matter what you think about Marc-Antoine Cameron, no matter what you think about the team, you've got to commend the team boss for investing so much into the NASCAR Pinty series, into racing in general. And JC really went out and assisted a lot of these names. Sam Fellows, with the funding added for his 87 car. The 3 throwback, the Dale Earnhardt throwback with GM Paillet for Alex Gannett, and then, of course, Andrew Ranger and Marc-Antoine Cameron. So JC Paillet definitely needs to be commended. The fans out at Chaudier, man, they showed up. Not really a shocker. And what's really great is we're getting fans that are coming from province to province to watch races. There's a couple of fans that I know that went from Ontario to go to the Quebec races. That's what you want to have in a racing series, is fans that are willing to also go out on a road trip and catch the races. Let's take a quick look at what the point standings are right now. Trayton Lapsovich currently still leading by 9 points over Marc-Antoine Cameron. Kevin Lacroix sits in 3rd place, so he's still within striking distance. And we know that Kevin Lacroix is not going to go anywhere in this championship battle unless they have a lot of trouble. But right now, the first 3 races, I would say it's been the Cameron Lapsovich show. Trayton Lapsovich in all 3 really showing that he is not going to be pushed around as much. Sure, may have had some pushes gone his way this race. I don't think that was unexpected. Marc-Antoine Cameron is a very aggressive racer and does get physical when he races. I'm okay with seeing a championship battle between these two all season long in a rivalry. I'm just hoping it doesn't turn into what we've seen in other series with wrecks and fights and all that. Like, we don't need that. Just continue with the great racing. Hopefully no tech failures on anybody's end. I think there's been some disappointments and some surprises. Obviously, Andrew Ranger, Brandon Watson, I think would be some of those names that aren't running where we expected them to run. Struggles for guys like Thomas Nouveau, WMI, but also some really good runs for Donald Teege. He has shown once again, if not for the mechanical issues, Teege is also showing that he has got a lot of jam this year. He has got a lot that's working for him. So newer teams, Brandon McFarlane and Josh Collins, they had their struggles. I'd say that coming away with a 15th for Brandon McFarlane was a solid run. They're heading home next, and I expect that when they're heading home, they're going to put their best effort. Not saying that they didn't put their effort in already, but when you're going in front of your home fans, you do a little bit extra, and I think that's what's going to happen for the McFarlane and Josh Collins team. It's been great having them out on the grid. They aren't planning on making every race this year. So the fact that we are able to get names out and get 21 cars, Malcolm Strawn, to me, and I'll talk about this in a little bit with Regan, it's great to see. And then, of course, JP Bergeron and Wallace Stacy got into it as well, and we'll talk about what our thoughts are about that. But we're going to bring in Regan McCauley now, and let's hear what we had to talk about when it comes to Chaudier and the outlook on our predictions.
Also back here on the Power Hour with our good buddy
Regan McCauley. Regan, let's first shout out who you're repping today on our show.
I just had to. Yeah, the Super Late Model Series over here in Atlantic Canada. Of course, it's race week, round 2 of 6, Oyster Bed Speedway this Saturday night. Coming up.
Hopefully.
This is the new round 2 because, again, Mother Nature has been just going at us. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it kind of makes sense in a way because the wildfires over Nova Scotia, there's that going on. So I guess there's, a reason for why that had to cancel round 2, which was originally at Petty National Raceway in New Brunswick. So there's that.
Yeah, it sucks. We've been lucky so far on the Pinty side of things, though. Like we haven't really had any weather concerns so far, knock on wood. CTMP obviously was, it always has a little bit of weather there, but even that was great. So definitely exciting that we've gotten 3 races down. And I think the big one that we want to make sure we don't have any rain is next week. Because eastbound, I think the crowds, I don't know 100%, but I think the crowd probably suffered a little bit because the race wasn't run on the Saturday. I think they had a much better crowd on the Saturday. And man, where can we start? I mean, first off, I just like to rub it in that I predicted the race winner, and I really showed you up in this sense, because did I not say that there's no doubt in my mind that Cameron would win? Now, I was sweating a little bit because he wasn't the best car of the day.
Oh, no.
And I was sweating as well, thinking about, the field. I don't know the last time that we've had 3 cars have fires and or rear end failures in the same race all before 200 laps. Like, we'll talk about that, Regan, because it was, one team once again having a really rough go of it, and my heart breaks for them. But man, is this a Trayton Lapsevich, Marc-Antoine Cameron season? Because clearly they are both. I mean, I say this, but then I'm like, well, but things could really change next week. So
there's still plenty of races left.
But it's
still early.
3 races
still is early.
It's literally been those 2.
Well, I mean, if you do look at the standings, though, yeah, there is that 9-point difference. But every other driver's not that far behind. Like, you got Lacroix, Dumoulin, even Alex Ganette's in there. You got freaking Dexter Stacy back in 7th. And obviously, Rafael Lessard had to come in for him in the second half of the race. And the thing is, that 92 car was great the entire race, regardless of the driver. Like, Stacy had a top 10 car going in that first half, even with that issue. And you're going to say something?
I'm just going to ask you this. In your opinion, EHR back after the first 3 races? Because to me, they look for real. Like this is what we're used to seeing with that team.
This not explains it. Yes, definitely back. How are they not?
Is it because they went down to 3 cars? I would think it has to be. It has to be, because
lowering the costs, you're putting a lot more priority against those drivers in particular, especially with guys like Gannett and Stacy, who we all know they're both very talented drivers. And there is a little bit of a difference in them, like skill-wise, because, I mean, we've seen that again with Gannett, running up front. He's been, like, in contention to win almost every single race so far. Stacy, on the other hand, maybe not as much, but he has taken advantage of like other cars having misfortune during the races, and he just comes around by the end. And, like, again, he's got 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s in 3 races. I guess that would include Lessard's finish, because, again, he started, so I guess that would count.
He does get the points, because he did start. So and that's refreshing, because EHR, when Hathaway won the 2020 deal, we didn't have a field like this. So we have a field that's great, and they were good like before when he was winning races on a regular basis, battling for the championship. But as we talked about, the field is still, like, incredibly stacked. You had some new faces in different places. You had some returns. You had some real big disappointments because I think that they would have done really well. Obviously, we're going to start this conversation with WMI, and I don't know the last time that I've seen a team finish 20th or like last and second last, and they were both done within 10 laps of each other. And like that's eerie when you think about how much work goes into cars and how much effort, and to have two cars from the same team go out within 10 laps with the same problem.
Yeah.
And that's got to sting. And they also retracted last year. They went from 4 to 2, and it hasn't seemed to really make a difference, unfortunately.
No, I mean, I guess the best, the saddest way to put it would be, yeah, my race winner pick for Chaudier and also my championship pick and Graydon's championship pick are all down the drain, I would say, at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just ever since Ranger went over there, it's just even whenever they do downsize the cars, still problems just keep hitting them.
And
Just keep hitting them.
not they're not wrecking. It's
No,
mechanical
it's
stuff.
just bad luck there.
It's and that's what when we talked with Jeff Wilcox in their shop over the off season, and he said it's like the weirdest stuff. It's the $5 parts, that just it's not working out for them. But while they've had rotten luck, I mean, I think we can go out and say a guy like Larry Jackson's coming away with, I think he's got multiple top tens now. I think maybe he's gotten two. He's got one on
Too.
Sunset and Chaudier. And he'll admit, like, he's not a road racer. But Matthew Scannell, his other car, before he got spun, was in the top 5. So Larry Jackson Racing is having a fantastic season. Sam Fellows comes into a new opportunity. He's up in the top 10, ran really well for a good chunk of the race until he had contact. And Malcolm Strawn, who didn't even know if he was going to be in this race, has run in the top 15 every race that he's been in for Jim Bray Racing. I love it. But for me right now, I got to think that maybe that doesn't stay for the full season, because a guy like JP Bergeron has had awful luck to start this season.
I mean, yeah, again, it's that thing all over the field where you get those surprises, you get those disappointments, you get the triumph. Like, it's just that parity is all over the place there. And another team as well, too, I'll mention Josh Collins Racing. Just, oh my goodness, the lap traffic fiascos that they got involved in were wild. And I know, Kevin Lacroix was one guy that literally had to almost wreck Collins out of the way on the backstretch. So that didn't help. But
it's Chaudier though, it's got to be trickier to get past the lap traffic at Chaudier, because I really feel that their Sunset's a little bit like it's wider, like you can push up really high. But and they were somewhat off the pace at Sunset, but Chaudier, you don't get much time to get away, right? And
it was funny too, because there were times where the leader would get caught up, and that would cause a second place car to start approaching them, or there'd be times where the leader is able to get by, but then the lap traffic gets into a little bit of a kerfuffle, and that causes the second place guy to start just that distance starts getting wider and wider. It was so back and forth.
And for you, you sent this to me while I was at Sunset Speedway. And I need to get your opinion on it, because I'm sure there are a lot of people are going to have their opinions on it. I think NASCAR certainly has their opinion on it. I mean, I would be very interested to see what comes of it, because I'm trying to phrase this as nicely as possible.
Professionally
as possible. There's certain types of payback that work.
Yes.
There's other types of payback that don't work. And I remember Landon Castle saying this when Danica Patrick tried to pay him back.
Yeah.
The number one rule about paying somebody back is to not wreck yourself. the 66 and the number 1. Now you watched the race live. Was that going to happen regardless, in your opinion? Like, was this the lap traffic where we were going to have somebody that was gonna run into somebody and it wouldn't go over well?
Well, yeah. I mean, what I first thought of right off the bat, I saw it happen. I was just like, whoa, guy, like Stacy ramps right over him. And then I look at the replay, and of course, my instinct is just to be like, "Oh my God, Wallace, why? Why'd you do that?" But then I posted it in the Pinty Series community group, and more information started to come in. While at the same time, someone decided to go at Wallace, and then Dexter Stacy, of all people, goes in the comments and goes at the guy, and then it just, it gets even more chaotic in that section. But I know there were a couple more comments that started coming through of like, I think Bergeron had it coming or something because he was, going at it with other cars too.
And I don't think you and I had discussed a Bergeron Stacy rivalry, but I'm kind of okay with rivalries. I'd rather see no wrecked race cars, but yeah.
I'm seeing it now. Like, Bergeron had already been going at him a couple times. Apparently, Jackson used Stacy as a pick to get by Bergeron, and Bergeron didn't like it, so he bumped Wallace or something like that. I'm seeing all these comments like it's but then I think one person kind of put it in a fair way where it was like just a clown show from both. Honestly, it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we both end up with 2 wrecked race cars that didn't need to be wrecked. I mean, if I'm NASCAR, I'm not happy about that. I think it's not the type of look on either side. Like, I mean, obviously we're not here to place blame on either one. We're not on the racetrack. That's the biggest thing. Is I know fans really like to do that, where they will claim this is what needs to happen or that's what happened. It's the same thing that we saw with the finish. And we'll talk about the finish in a second. And I think the finish is a sample of what we've kind of seen between the two up front for the last couple of races. And it's very interesting to see this different sides of it. I think that you've got people from Quebec that view it one way, people from Ontario that view it another way, but there's other people that view things completely opposite than everybody else. So let's dive into the finish. Now, CTMP and Sunset were what they were. You had a great dive underneath Gannett at Sunset into 3, but previous to that, Cameron had shoved Trayton into turn 1, pushed him up really high. Didn't end up working for Cameron in that circumstance. It at CTMP all came down to the final corner where there was contact, and we both, I think, agreed that this was a pretty decent, pretty clean bump. It wasn't more than, I don't even know if we call it a bumper. It was more like a shove, basically the exact same thing, except on the final corner. What was this? Because this seemed very similar to the move that Cameron made on Lapsevich at Eastbound last year. Very similar. What would you say?
Well, what really gets at me is what Trayton said afterwards in that article that came out. Like, he says he got put in the fence, like he just got used up by Cameron. But then when I look back at the replay, out of all lanes to go to, why would you choose the high side where, based on the past 2 races, the guy that's beside you, who you've been having kerfuffles with as of recently, he's right there on your inside. At that point, you should realize that if you were to pick the inside, you might have a little bit more leeway there. You might have more of the advantage. Although during the race, we did see the high line be the better line, especially if, like, if 3 cars are going for the lead or something like that, it'd be a guy on the inside and then 2 cars would take advantage on the high side. Like, it'd be like that every now and then. But just, I think it was a poor lane choice, because if you have a guy like Cameron under there, you just have to know he's going to go up and do something at you because of what happened back at CTMP.
Yeah.
And when he went to go and do that, he just rubbed him up. Like Trayton says, he put him in the fence twice. There was no contact in the fence whatsoever.
I don't believe I saw that either.
No, there
But
wasn't.
if
He rubbed him up, he didn't wreck him.
But again, I think I think this stems back. I think that there's they were, and I don't really think that the moves that anybody has made so far have really been that bad in all things considered, because at the end of the day, we're you finished second. So it wasn't as brutal as it could have been. We've seen it be really bad before. We've seen Cameron has made a right hook before in the series, which was really bad. I think he's, and he's been very aggressive. Mark is one of the most aggressive drivers in the series. But if you look at the type of team that he has, they don't want to do anything other than take home a checkered flag at the end of the day. Sure, they want to take points, but if you were to tell me at Chaudier that Cameron was going to let Trayton get away and get that win, I don't think that would have ever happened. I think if he was close enough, if he was in second place, he was going to do whatever he could to win that. It was, again, I think this was just like CTMP. I think it was a little bit cleaner than what we would have expected. It wasn't a dump and run. It wasn't, sure, you can crowd people. That's what you do in racing. I would rather Trayton be crowded and finish second than if he were spun and finished 20th. That's exactly the difference that I see. But again, at the same time, I almost feel like this is a healthy rivalry that's growing, because it isn't going to that point yet where we're dumping people, where it's absolutely, there's fights going on. I think it's a healthy championship rivalry. And I don't know about you, but I think Trayton seems to be, something's different. Like he seems to finally be, and maybe this was just part of the growing up, but I think it's he's starting to get aggressive on the track. And I think he was getting used up. Right?
You can see his attitude starting to change, because in the past years we've seen him racing and interviewing him and such. Mm-hmm. He's been a little bit more like calmer, a little bit more poised. I think those are terms you can use.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely poised.
Like he always said, like, he doesn't like to use up drivers. He likes to get it done like cleanly, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But now this year we're seeing some completely different, where he sees these opportunities, and you might think in past years he might be like, oh, whatever, I'll just take second. It's a good points day. But no, those two races, he went for it. He straight up went for it.
Exactly. He went.
And as you were saying too at CTMP, it was almost a dump and run. Almost.
Thank
goodness that wasn't Chaudier.
If Mark had gotten into the tires, if Mark was in the tires, this would be a whole different story.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And because Mark saved it and he didn't go into the tires, but each time they finished, well, Cameron didn't finish second at Sunset. That's a little bit different. No. Finished farther back. But in that case, that wasn't a move by Trayton. That was a move by Mark, right? So then it was a move by Trayton. This time it was a move by Mark. So naturally, in the succession, if it's these two at the front at eastbound, I would expect, and I kind of thought last year that if Trayton's in that same position, that he would move Cameron high, because that's the way to do it. But talk about the great runs, dude. Rafael Lessard.
Yes. In that 92 car, yeah.
And you said that he was fast, like Dexter was fast in that car with half an arm. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's and Gannett, it was also running up front, and there was some contact, unfortunately. I don't think that move was. I don't think that was. I thought it was just typical Chaudier is what that was.
Yeah, it's like Gannett was. Yeah, Gannett was in like. Yeah, Gannett was in like the middle lane, like in the middle of the track or something. Like, the line would be here and he'd be right in between there, each side there. And it just seemed like Teach kind of bumped him a little bit on the right rear quarter panel. Then he went, and then that caused his car to go down right into Lacroix. I originally thought Lacroix dumped him, but
Yes.
no, Tej was actually the one that bumped him down. That doesn't help. And it's funny too. We were talking about Larry Jackson earlier because that caused Gannett to go towards the back, at least at the lead lap cars. And he and Larry Jackson were just going at it for 9th place for like the final, I don't know, it could have been 50 laps or something. I don't know what the number was, but it was a lot of laps where they were just going at it, and go figure, Jackson beats the Intimidator. So
yeah, I like that. The most electrifying man beats the Intimidator, and then Sam running the Jumbo Joe Nemechek font, and throwback to his dad's number 87. And I mean, GM Paillet with 4 cars in this race, it tells you how much that he's putting into this. JC is clearly into helping the series. But I've got to ask you, because I didn't get your thoughts on it previously, because it was announced obviously this week, about the throwback to Dale Earnhardt and the Gannett look. And dude, I am telling you, I feel like that was something that this series has really missed. And this was a huge attention seek. Like I posted it on Twitter, posted it on Facebook, and it was some of the biggest views I've ever gotten.
I posted on Reddit.
Is this something that we need?
Well, I mean, I posted on Reddit, and it got like, I don't know, 300 upvotes or something, and the comment section was going wild. Teresa Earnhardt, of all people, may not be a fan, but we're not using.
She has no right over this one though, because it's
that's why I was going to say it's not the RCR number. So
yeah,
we're using Gannett's version. The thing is, though, someone in the Reddit comment section was just like, they should have done like Austin Dillon's font or something to begin with. But I'm like, no, we have to. Yes, we can throw back to a top series kind of, livery that's well known and it's famous and all that. But we still have to keep that Pinty's identity. Gannett had to keep it.
I believe they had plans that they wanted to do that, but at the same time, RCR owns the trademark and the design for that number 3, so you would have had to go and get permit. It's the same thing with a couple of years ago with Lessard and Napa, because it was a complete clone of Chase Elliott's. And I believe Kevin told me as well, when they had the clone of Chase's as well, is that you have to go and seek permission. Like, you can't just run it because you want to run it. Like, that's why I like the tributes, because they don't really have the design kind of tributes on those. And I would love to see some further throwbacks in the series on a regular, because it adds that interest. And especially when we don't have a ton of that NASCAR South vibe in this series, because it's its own thing. Like a DJ Kennington, for example, could easily run a throwback to his old Castrol car, right? Like, that's a definite possibility.
Can we get the Ranger Tide car back, please?
Please. I would love it. I'd love to see, but the problem is now the 27 is being used by a Chevrolet, so you can't get the true. You got to get the old Fusion front back on the car, right? I think that this is showing the competition level has not wavered at all, and names like DJ Kennington are not having the best starts to their races. Sunset, he did not have a great race. He didn't have one at CTMP either, and here at Chaudier, he had to battle all day to get back into that sixth place position. And I almost feel like, and Brandon Watson too, not really. And we know that this is not the same car that he's had. He's not with the same team. So the DJK stable right now, I think, is still trying to find footing. It is what it feels like. It feels like they're good. They're there. They're just not at the level that they were last year. Now, DJ got hot right when we went on the Western swing, because and then from there, So I think they always kind of start slow. Thomas Naveau. I think he needs a break already. I think he needs a
he's
break.
going to
Poor
get it.
kid.
He is going to get it because he's not going to eastbound.
Exactly.
So.
Now, do we get that car, do you think? Because I feel like the sponsorship on that car is all like, it's not team related. It is all his. So
what circumstances, what factors will we have to go off of in terms of choosing someone?
That's the hard question. Is I don't know. Right.
I feel like off the top of my head, it'd be get a local guy, maybe.
You would, but if it's and his is mostly all Quebec sponsorship.
That's the problem.
So if it's Quebec sponsorship, I have no knowledge about this, whether or not, but there is next week is an off weekend, I think, isn't it?
We have an off weekend, then it's the next week is eastbound.
Okay. So we have an off weekend this weekend, and then I believe it's Nashville. And I don't believe he would have a ride at Nashville, but he is still affiliated with Dave Jacobs Racing, Alex Labay. I kind of feel like that's if they're gonna have the car there, he's been coaching Thomas Naveau and JP Bergeron, so that's a guy who I would be putting in. And he's also he's a NASCAR Xfinity driver. He's a former champion. So that's a good fit. Obviously, I would want to see more locals. Like, I'd love to see the Butchers come into this race. I still think that they're the number one get. We are going to have some locals. We'll talk about that in a second. But final thoughts on the actual race at Chaudier. Not really unexpected. I want to check actually where it's sitting in our poll right now. I put a poll out on the NASCAR Pinty Series community page.
Oh yeah,
and of which is their favorite race so far out of these three that we've had. And it's interesting, Regan, because when I ask this question, I always have to remind myself it's not it's not based solely on the finish. It has to be the entire race. But a lot of people, I think, just go off of the finish.
And that is why I believe Chaudier was the best race so far.
Oh, okay.
That's my opinion. Chaudier, as a race overall, I found probably the most entertaining. It had the most stuff going on. Sunset and CTMP had periods where it was just kind of like, just let time fly by or whatever. Finishes were great. Yes, that's going to cause fans to be maybe a little bit biased.
Yeah.
But I found Chaudier had the most stuff going on during the actual race itself. There wasn't really any points where I felt, I guess, bored. The thing is, though, I would say if you're at the track, it probably would have been by far the best race because there was stuff going on everywhere. I know some people were saying that about Sunset too, but I would say for Chaudier, it was tight. There were battles all across the field. The leader did get away a couple of times. It did help to have that late restart, of course, to get that final finish. Because if we didn't get a caution, then Lapcevich would have walked away with it. But
that is true. That is very true.
But taking that restart into account, I still hold that opinion.
Well, right now it is extremely close. It's 39% say CTMP actually. Which is typical because we normally have a huge crowd that loves the road racing side of it. 32 though says Sunset, and then 29 says Chaudier. So it is actually really close. There isn't one definitive race right now that people are stating was the favorite. For myself, obviously being at the track at CTMP and Sunset, for me it's no comparison because CTMP you don't see all of the action, whereas at a short track you do. So I think CTMP is more the experience, just like GP3R. It's the experience of being there. But we head to Eastbound Park next, Regan.
Well, one thing I want to say very quickly is, though, I like the idea that actually all three of them are close because, in my opinion, I think that just means that all three races have been great in some capacity. It doesn't mean there's been an overly bad one because you don't see one where it could be 5 or 10%, then and then other ones are just skyrocketing.
That's true.
And again, it's only early in the season. I would say if you had a little bit more options, you would kind of see that a little bit more. But the
I'd be
fact that all
very
three of them
curious.
are, because of all three of them being so close,
Yeah.
that just means the season's been great so far. Every
And
race has been good in some capacity.
we have still so much left to go. Like this is 3 of
Exactly.
14, right?
We
And
got
I think
Eastbound next, baby.
I think last year actually the winner that got the most was Oshweekend. People loved
Okay.
because it was new, it was different. I personally thought that Delaware was a great finish, a great race overall. For me so far, Sunset's been really good because being at the track. I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
say broadcast wise doesn't show enough to tell people like this is great, this is excellent. But so far, our championship is 9 points. You said it's between Cameron and Lapsevich so far. Lacroix still close, and he was my pick for the championship this year. Maybe we just ticked off Trayton Lapsevich because nobody picked him for the title, and that's why he's going off. But LP Dumoulin, after a winless season last year and a miserable season, fourth in the championship. Alex Gannett, who I think you picked as a sleeper for the title.
Yeah, my predictions were really weird because I said I said Gannett would finish like top 8 in the standings.
Yes, you
Finish
did.
over Dumoulin. I think what I should have said was probably at least top 5 because I think 8 was a little low. But again,
But
Gannett is still right there, 2 points
he
below
is.
Dumoulin. So
He is. And then
yeah.
you add DJ in there, Dexter Stacy, JP, Larry,
But
and
Tagliani is
Tagliani.
10th.
That is the
And
shocker.
Watson's 12th.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the one though. Your pick. Where's your pick for the championship sitting right now? Yeah, he might be 14th right now. But if there's a guy that would go off and just rattle off wins, Andrew Ranger is the type of guy that could do it. Because remember, he almost won he won Show Day last year. He almost won, was it the first race at Saskatoon? Second, whatever one first race, because he was battling side by side with DJ to the line. So he is somebody, and he had no luck out at Eastbound last year. They had that mechanical failure. So if everything stays together, Ranger is still the kind of guy who can go out there and pick up a race victory no matter what the circumstance. It just needs to get there. Donald Teach is still somebody I think that could go out and get a race victory. We still haven't been able to see what Thomas Nouveau can do. Toronto might be someplace where we see what he can do because he's got experience on the street courses where a lot of guys in our series do not. So overall, standing wise, I think this is what we were expecting. I think there's not really a huge shock aside from Andrew Ranger being where he's at right now.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, again, it's a Lapsevich Cameron thing going on there, but then it's too early to call because everyone's still in that. Like, there's 7 drivers right now in a 31 point, gap, like capacity. Yeah. Like, and even Dexter Stacy of all people is right there too, and he can surprise people. I would say too, again, mentioning the 27 not getting that good result at Eastbound last year. I would hope that the number 3 doesn't go through the same situation and hopefully makes a lap this time.
I think Alex Gannett will be really, really good at Eastbound. I just he seems to be like we've talked about this before. He's so good. And really, I don't know why they just didn't seem to have the luck last year. He sure won GP3R based off of that lucky situation. Got on the podium again at iCar. He wasn't showing. He didn't run the ovals last year. He ran the road courses, and so far he's been lights out. And I love that he's doing it for a brand new partner in the series, and Asa Abloy, who's getting great exposure for their team and for their partnership. That's fantastic. And I love that, the Fast Eddie team is getting the, NASCAR Pinty Series gear out and they're running well at the racetrack. I love to see that.
I mean, yeah, that's a perfect storyline. It's a complete turnaround after the struggles that they've gone through in recent years. And again, too, with Gannett, he does have a little experience. But the thing is, though, it's been so long since he's run on the ovals on like a
Yeah.
full-time basis, too. It's been
Yeah.
a while. So if someone were to argue, well, he does carry on the experience or whatever, it's been so long. And he's just right there. He's contending every time this year.
Even
so far.
Even the Rick Ware Racing deal that he had with DJ was only a condensed schedule. It wasn't what we have now. It wasn't going to all these different tracks, right? When you're going to like 3 races at Delaware, 2 at Sunset, like that's not the real schedule. So he's putting himself, and this is a 2-year deal. Like it was a multi-year deal. So we know that we're going to see Gannett back in some capacity next year. So to have that, there are question marks though as we head to Eastbound Park. So Eastbound last year we had, I believe, 22 entries on the list. 2 locals, I think it was last year, Sarah Thorne and Brandon McFarland.
Yeah.
We're looking at least to double that this time around and potentially even add 1 more. So looking at potentially 5 for the entry list. Again, this is all like up in the air because we don't really know what's happening with the 24. It's one of those things. Are they going really for points? Probably not, based off of the season that they've had so far.
Just gotta finish.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like Sam Fellows, he's just got a brand new team. I don't expect that they're going to be going out there. We don't have any expectations that MBS is going out there. So we really don't know. So like right now, I have a count of 18 with the max. I personally think is going to be about 20. I don't know if we're going to get the big extra amount of cars that we're getting. We do know that we're going to have Wayne Hanlon Jr., who is a local. I think he runs out of Eastbound regularly and Speedway 660. I could be wrong about the 661, but I believe that's where he runs out of. Brandon McFarland, obviously Josh Collins, your locals. Sarah Thorne is also expected to be back. But I did hear that there was a 5th person. Who that is, I have no idea. But
do you have any like predictions or ideas of who it could be?
No idea. Honestly,
okay, maybe I feel like I'd be the person to maybe.
Yeah, you're the Atlantic correspondent.
I'm the Atlantic guy, but no, I don't dive into that stuff. That's the problem.
But see, it's the opportunity, right? You just don't know who would be interested in it, right? Like I don't. And my biggest question is whose car would it be with, right? Because if DJ's, doing rentals for the 11. Which is Hanlon, and then Thorne drove for him last year, so I'd assume it'd be the same. He's probably maxed out. Maybe we see 22 Racing or EH. I don't know if EHR would do one, but I like that we're going to see some names out there that are local, because that is the attraction. We got confirmation Matthew Shirley is going to be back at in the Western provinces for at least the races out there, and that's also a very big thing. Chantel Kalik always runs out there. Jamie Krizik always runs out there, but that brings those fans to the track, right? Quebec, we don't have to worry because lots of Quebec. Ontario, lots of Quebec, lots of Ontario. But when you go to a local track, you get your local heroes. So when we went to Delaware last year, Ray Morneau Jr. had the biggest ovation, and that's over DJ Kennington at Delaware, and it's because he runs there weekly. That's what fans really like to see, and they want to cheer their home heroes on.
I mean, speaking of local heroes, that stuff too, like if this gains traction, maybe 2025 we can get the Pintys over here at like 660 or Petty. Maybe get some local heroes in there.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to grow, right?
Or Riverside.
Yeah. Exactly. That or Riverside. That's yes. I like how we think there, Regan. But okay, you know what's coming because you're on the show, and I kicked your butt at Chaudier with this one. So Eastbound Park is next. You need to pick a winner.
Alex Gannett.
Alex Gannett right away.
I said it in the predictions we made in the season preview. I did a bonus saying two of Gannett's wins will be, I think it was Eastbound and Toronto. I'm sticking with Eastbound because that guy has had so much speed in the past 3 races. How can I not go with him?
And then your underdog pick. So while you think of that, I'll go with my winner. And I'm going to go with it's hard not to go with Cameron or Trayton Lapsovich, right?
Change it up, please.
They've been the best. But I'm going to go with I am going to change it up too. I'm going to go Brandon Watson. I think that he could turn it around. He
got the pole.
He did get, as I was saying, I thought he won the pole last year. Now it was with White Motorsports, but I still think that he can motor it around there. And so I'm going to go with Brandon Watson for the win. Now, again, underdog pick. Who are you going for, my friend?
Okay, actually, now that I think about it, why didn't I pick Watson?
I don't know why.
He was in my mind, but then the Gannett thing was just there.
So, but again, I would say that he would be an underdog too because of the luck he's had so far this year.
Well, yeah. Well, you have him as a winner pick. I personally think I would, if I didn't pick Gannett, or if he wasn't running, I would have easily went Watson. So I'll let you have that. And I won't make him an underdog pick. He's not going to be an underdog for Eastbound. There's no way.
Okay.
I am stuck between at least 2 names based on last year. Dexter Stacy or Larry Jackson?
And I'm very upset with you because I was going to go with Dexter Stacy because Dexter did really well at Eastbound last year. And my hope was that if he can't go, then Lessard would be in the 92. And there you go.
Exactly.
Then you're set, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go with the local guy. I'm going to go with Brandon McFarland. I think Brandon did really well last year in the race that he did do. They had some mechanical problems, but that he knows that track more than anybody else, right? Well, maybe Josh Collins knows it a little bit.
And with the amount of complications that he went through at Sunset, and yet he was still able to persevere and almost get a top 10. Like, I'm not surprised by that pick, and I even had him in mind. But it's just, I think the competition factor, it doesn't convince me, but I do hope, and I would not be surprised if he did run, well, and actually even got like a top 10. So.
I think a top 10 is absolutely achievable for that team.
Oh yeah.
At Eastbound Park. Again, we have to remember last year there wasn't as much devastation in the race. There was mechanical problems. DJ got in the wall early. Donald got in the wall early, and then there was the one massive destruction for LP Dumoulin. If he goes and wins it after that, that would be a great comeback. But I do think, again, you're going to see Cameron up front. You're going to see Lapsovich up front. However, I think what the other team's got to do is got to get up front in practice first.
Yes.
Because if they can't get it sorted in practice, like these other guys are, that's going to be the real story. Andrew Ranger didn't get out for practice until late.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to get that sorted out. This is going to be a big deal. Once again, you're going, I believe it's extended now. We're gone out of the 225s into the 250s for this time, the Pro Line 250 at Eastbound Park. You got a field that I don't feel we need 30 cars at this track. I think 20, 22 is great. Anything more like 25 is maybe just a bit too much. Because if you have destruction off of turn 2, you're going to take more than one car with you. Is there going to be a clean finish?
Well, you talk about what happened with Dumoulin, of course, what happened with Brett Taylor as well.
Mm-hmm.
If Lapsovich and Cameron continue to go at it, especially at this track where it's not, how would I put it? Like, with the way the walls are, and you even mentioned if the car goes spinning off turn 2, then I guess the term calamity could come into play.
Because I don't feel you're going anywhere. You're going back into traffic is what it seems like.
if it keeps going at eastbound, I would be a little. I would not. I would be a little queasy.
Okay,
Especially
so
after what happened with Dumoulin.
So you're thinking that there is going to be a clean finish then?
Well, there was last year. I would
Well,
say
it was semi-clean. He ran him up a little high.
Okay. I mean the final laps,
Yes,
I guess. But
that was clean.
I don't know if I would predict yes, there will be a clean finish. I'm just gonna at this point say I hope.
Okay.
Because for a track like Eastbound and some of the stuff that happened last year, I just hope that we are able to get something clean going. I mean, I would love to have competition, bumping, grinding side by side, all that. I would love to have all that, but like, I just hope that with the stuff that happened last year, we don't get something even worse.
Now, we had a mechanical failure last year. We've had them already this year. At Chaudier was the worst. We had some actually at Sunset as well.
Yeah.
Is there going to be mechanical failures at Eastbound Park?
Oh, 100%. There's going to be someone that goes through some. Pretty much every single race has a mechanical failure, anyways. It's just a matter of how many cars are just going to be like, like lightning bolt from the racing gods.
Yeah. Well, Riggsy, how can people follow you on social media and follow the Super Late Model series as well?
I'll start with me, of course, Regan McCauley on Facebook. You can find me at Riggs there on YouTube and Twitter, Reddit, mostly all other places as well. You can find the Super Late Model series at SLM series on pretty much almost every single platform I think you could imagine. On the YouTube is the Super Late Model series. We'll have full race and also race highlights after every single race that we will have. So whenever Oysterbed comes up, hopefully Mother Nature doesn't screw with us this time, then we will be able to have something the week after. So stay tuned to our social media pages, of course, and check out all the content. We've been throwing stuff out, even though we should have 2 races down, 2 races down, but we only have 1. So we're going to keep going at that and keep doing our goal of rejuvenating stock car racing over here in Atlanta, Canada, of course. And then, of course, with me too, just continuing to make content, promote the Pinty series as per usual. It does suck that I won't be able to go to Eastbound this year. I really wish I could have, but again, though, just logistical reasons. I have jobs. Maybe next year, maybe sometime down the line, we'll figure that out. And I can represent the Stickers and Scuffs podcast, or even all of us could be there.
Yeah,
we'll see. But all I hope is, we just continue to have good storylines for Eastbound, and I'm sure we'll get a fantastic race. And I just hope for something better at Andrew Ranger, I guess.
That's our good buddy Regan McCauley. Catch him here for race breakdowns on the Pinty Series Power Hour here on G-Force TV. Obviously, big congrats to the Paille Racing team once again for getting back into victory lane. And for all that they're doing this season. But that's Regan McCauley. Well, always appreciate Regan coming in and chatting with me to talk about the NASCAR Pinty Series and give us his opinions. Obviously, it's always great having fans chat with us and talk about the series as we continue to grow and travel across Canada. We head back to Eastbound Park. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see what the crowd does out there and what type of race we get. The championship is in full swing, but if you can, we really appreciate it. If you could give us a thumbs up, that does very well for our podcast. We do continue to grow and try and get more and more NASCAR Pinty fans from not just Ontario, Quebec, out west and out east, but from the U.S. and all over the world. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. I'm Cam K, your host, your wingman for the NASCAR Pinty Series Power Hour. And we'll catch you all next week here on G-Force TV.